we've got to let the stream breathe for just a second here and make sure that everything is nice and stable all across the YouTube platform. Welcome in, Broncos country, to this Denver Broncos Syndicate post-game show. Obviously not the results we're looking for as the Denver Broncos fall to the Jacksonville Jaguars 34-20. It was a really bad game for the Broncos, but I think all the football stuff is kind of irrelevant right now, given with what we just saw with Pat Bryant. I will say I didn't see the hit because I was actually walking down to the lower bowl getting ready to do this post-game show. I walked back into the stadium area, and as I was walking back in, Pat Bryant was already on the ground. Teammates were kneeled around him. They put him on a stretcher, on a backboard. They're taking him to the hospital. You could see the ambulance in the background just waiting in the tunnel for him with its lights on already. So he's probably already on his way to Denver Health right now. Fight for Freedom says, should it have been a penalty? I'm kind of sick about it. I don't know. I really don't know because I haven't seen the play yet. I really don't know. I've heard that it was technically within the law of the land, but still, man, you don't want to see that. You never want to see injuries, especially in a game that is pretty much already done. We'll talk about all the football stuff, guys. Obviously, it was a bad loss for the Broncos. They're going to be okay long term. I'm very confident about that. But losing Pat Bryant was just the worst possible way that this game could have ended, and feels like it was a microcosm of the entire day. Roan asks what happened to Bryant. He took an ugly hit. One of my friends who did see the play said that it was just a high throw. Looked like it was a legal hit from what they said, but again, man, it just sucks. It sucks. You never want to see anybody go down like that. I hate it every time I have to see it. Last time that I think I saw somebody in person have to get stretchered out of here was Teddy Bridgewater back in 2021. You just hate it, dude. You really do. But regardless, thoughts out to Bryant. Hopefully he makes a full recovery. This was probably the worst possible game it could have happened in, too, because he's from Jacksonville. He was going up against his hometown team, and I guess a bunch of friends and family flew in from Jacksonville for the game. So of all games that this happened to Bryant, it was this one. It just sucks, man. It really, really does. Gut punch loss, but even more gut punch for Pat for sure. Roan says he stopped watching after the failed fourth down conversion. Yeah, it just sucks. It just sucks. It was a legal hit, just very unfortunate. Defender on Jags hit him when he was in the air. It sucks, man. It's just brutal. I hope he's okay. I'm assuming he's going to Denver Health, which is the best hospital in Denver. It's not far from here. Wouldn't be surprised if he isn't already there. So, again, man, he's in the best hands. Anytime that a player gets knocked out or a player briefly loses consciousness, this is what they do. They put him on a spine board and they cart him off the field. It's a scary scene, but hopefully it was nothing more than a precaution, and Pat Bryant is going to be okay. Prayers up to Pat Bryant. Excuse me. Prayers up to Pat Bryant. Hope he's okay. Tony says the refs were terrible. Yes, the refs were terrible today, but that's not an excuse. The Denver Broncos played like shit. They played like absolute shit. They could not tackle on defense. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't get to Trevor Lawrence. Their blitzes weren't getting home. They were giving up way too many chunk plays in the secondary. It was just a masterclass of terrible defense. We definitely missed Brandon Jones in this one. P.J. Locke stepped in, and he played really well against the Packers, but in this game, P.J. Locke did not look good. Multiple blown assignments. Had a really questionable penalty that was called on him for roughing the passer when the play was blown dead. He didn't hear the whistle, and they still flagged him for it. So that was kind of sucky. There were some other really bad calls in this game. A missed offensive pass interference on a Jaguars touchdown. So don't get me wrong, the officiating was bad in this game, and we will talk about it, but Denver's defense just playing horrible football today is why we are sitting here right now with this loss. Do you see us winning on Thursday? I do. I think that the Broncos have proven that they bounce back after games like this. Every single time that they have a bad game, it seems like they bounce back and have the best game that they can. Plus, they're going to be going up against Chris Oladokun, the Chiefs' third-string quarterback, because Gardner Minshew also tore his ACL. You hate seeing that as well. But I do think that next week we can get a win. Fight for Freedom says we need to win out now. Yes, we do. Now we need to win out in order to get that number 1 seed. This was your one loss that you could afford to give, and unfortunately, you no longer have the luxury of sitting starters week 18 versus the Chargers. You're going to have to play your starters in that game, so that's an unfortunate consequence of losing this game for the Denver Broncos. Defense got ran over after the fourth quarter. They did. They really did. Bad calls on both teams? Yes, there were. I mean, that freaking unnecessary roughness penalty that little Jordan Humphrey, that he was the victim of, the Jaguars defender got penalized on that. That was just a really, really egregious one. Obviously, the missed offensive pass interference, a couple of questionable roughing the passer calls. I actually thought the pass interference that they got, I believe it was on PJ Locke, that was a good call, but outside of that, it was just bad. Riley Moss was getting burned. He wasn't so much getting burned, more so he was just missing tackles, and that's not good. You guys know I am a staunch Riley Moss defender here on Broncos Syndicate, but I will say he played terrible today. I'd argue this was his worst game as a Bronco. Bad mojo, bad game, better now than playoffs, will be okay. We talked about this. We talked about how the Denver Broncos maybe needed a good punch in the balls in order to realize that they do have flaws. This is a warded team. There are some issues on both sides of the ball, and I'd say today brought those issues to light. And long term, this can benefit Denver because it gives them the opportunity to clean that shit up. I was talking about the Detroit Lions last year, how they coasted through basically every single regular season game on cruise control. They didn't have to face adversity. They didn't take a loss before the beginning of the playoffs, and they ended up going one and done because they didn't know how to face adversity and overcome it. So I'd argue this isn't exactly a bad thing for the Denver Broncos, but it's all about coming back in these next 2 games, bouncing back, getting that number 1 seed, getting that first round bye, and then being ready to go for the playoffs. Today is a celebration for the Broncos haters. Overall, not the end of the world. It's not. Like, yeah, it sucks to lose. We haven't lost at home since week 6 of last year, but overall, it's not the worst case scenario for the Broncos. We're going to be okay. I'm very confident about that. We've just got to clean some shit up, which, again, I'm confident will happen. What happens if the Pats lose tonight? Denver still has the tiebreakers over New England. They've got all the tiebreakers. So, in the event that the Pats win, we're still in good shape. We still have the number 1 seed right now. If they lose, we've got another game separator. So if the Pats lose tonight, it'll almost be like this game didn't happen. But you do have Jacksonville kind of breathing down your neck a little bit. You still have the Chargers breathing down your neck. So we still have to play good football in these next 2 games. What happens if the Pats... Oh, we already got that one. We might be playing for the division in Week 18. We might. I think the Chargers are going to take an L before then, but we very well could, man, because the Chargers do still have to play the Houston Texans. Yes, Donye, Pat did get carted off. It was stretcher, spine board situation, just a really, really crappy situation, so he's on his way to the hospital. Unless the Chargers lose to the Texans next week, which will help us as well. Exactly. Sign Justin Simmons. I know this isn't going to be a popular take, but no, do not sign Justin Simmons. He's washed. He's simply washed. I love Justin, but he can't play anymore. There's a reason why he's not on a team right now. VJ should have adjusted because we basically snuffed the run. I'd argue that VJ made adjustments. Denver just didn't make the plays. They didn't execute on the defensive side of the ball. The play calls were fine. The execution was far from fine. And on the offensive side of the ball, they were rolling for basically the first 3 quarters, and it felt like that botched trick play where Bo Nix underthrew it and Cortland Sutton couldn't catch it. That was kind of the play where offensively Denver started falling off a cliff. Let's see here. PJ Sad AF. Listen, man, he did the best that he could stepping in, but today proved that he's not a starter. You guys can't put all the blame on Bo Nix. Hell, Bo Nix doesn't get any of the blame today as far as I'm concerned. Bo actually played well. The offense as a whole played pretty well. It was the defense that didn't step up and do their part today. This stinks. It does stink. No Fly Zone says should have brought in Justin Simmons. Again, I know fans won't like it, but I don't think Justin Simmons would be much of an upgrade over PJ Locke. Better now than later. 34 points should have held them nothing more than 24. For sure, man, for sure. What happened in the final 2 minutes? I was watching Lions and Steelers at the end because of fantasy implications. Pat Bryant got hurt. He took a big hit and got knocked out. Had to be carted off on a spine board. So obviously that really sucks. Storm's coming week 18. Bolt the F up. Hope you guys lose out. Probably not losing next week, but they're going to have to play really well against the Chargers. Chargers have to lose to the Texans, indeed. Bolt's about to take the division. Easy work, losers. I don't know if you can call a 12-win football team losers, just saying. I don't understand how we're the most penalized team and nothing has changed for 6 weeks. How does Sean let us keep getting stupid penalties? I mean, the lack of discipline is frustrating, don't get me wrong, but the penalties today were ridiculous. Both sides were getting bad calls in this one. I feel like Denver's penalties, a lot of them were just really bad calls by the officials. But that's not an excuse. Denver just didn't play well enough today. It's very simple. Next year, mark my words, PJ will not be here. I agree. I don't think he's going to be here either, but shitting on PJ isn't going to do us any good, in my opinion. You're going to have to make adjustments, and the most logical adjustment would be Jahdae Barron, but if I'm being completely honest, Jahdae Barron didn't play well either. Turtle in the house saying, who's scared of the Chargers in the postseason? I know I'm not. I think the Broncos are the better football team. It's very clear they're the better football team. Even good football teams play crappy games. We'll forget that Super Bowl 50 season, Denver had a couple of really crappy losses back-to-back to the Steelers and the Raiders. Almost feels like that. What Denver was able to do in those games is build off of what they screwed up on, and they were able to come out and play some really good football, and they didn't lose the rest of the way heading into the Super Bowl. I'd argue this loss is kind of what the Broncos needed right now, just to wake up and realize that they are a flawed football team, and there are some areas where they're going to have to be cleaned up. We've been exposed, not just this week. Mariota exposed the defense. Jordan Love exposed the defense. Trevor Lawrence did too. Even Kenny Pickett exposed a handful of plays. Listen, the defense has had their problems, don't get me wrong, but the solution is about as simple as it gets. You've just got to play fundamental football. You've got to stop missing tackles. You've got to have good communication in the secondary. It's really that simple. And again, losing Brandon Jones really hurt. Why can't Riley tackle? That's probably the worst element of his game, in my opinion, is his tackling. Bo played good outside of the interception. He did. Denver's overrated. Call him overrated. Call him whatever you want to call him. They're still a 12-win football team. What were those penalties? I'd say 60% of them were BS calls, in my opinion. What's the news on Pat Bryant? As far as we know, he's going to the hospital. They're probably going to put him through a bunch of tests like CT scans and a bunch of stuff like that. So I imagine we're not going to get news on him for a while. Bronco fan says awful. Sutton missed the ball that would have changed the game. On that play, it was an underthrown ball by Bo Nix. I don't know how the TV showed it, but in stadium, Sutton was streaking down the sideline. If Bo puts that in stride, it would have been a walk-in touchdown. So, unfortunately, that was kind of on both of them, in my opinion. Sure, Cortland could have caught it, but Bo did underthrow it. How are they 5-0 in the division and swept all three to start? Played a competent team and lost, just wiped the Eagles, Chiefs, and Cowboys. Herbert was one-handed. Not sure what we're trying to say there. That's a lot of jumbled words. The tackling was trash. Yes, it was. It really was, and that was the biggest issue that I had. Heard Pat got rushed to the hospital. Hopefully he's okay by playoff time. I just hope he's okay in general. That was a really scary scene. Like, I walked out just as the play had finished and he was on the ground, and seeing his teammates and how scared they were, I hate it. I really hate it. We didn't play well. The calls helped nothing. Bo Nix is far from trash. I agree, man. Offensively, I don't have a whole lot of complaints. Maybe VJ should move Barrett to safety and KD could be that dime or put him where Barrett was. The only problem there is Barron also played terrible today. Like, he was missing tackles. He was also really a part of those blown coverages. So he wasn't good either, man. So I don't know what you do at this point. I really don't. Did you guys see another starting quarterback for the Chiefs out for the season? Yeah, that sucks. You never want to see guys go down. I really like Gardner Minshew, so you really don't want to see that. But Denver, they'll take it because they're going to be going up against a really, really bad quarterback in Chris Oladokun next week. We got A6 in the house saying Duval. Hey, man, hats off to Jacksonville. They came into this game. They had a really good game plan. They executed that game plan, and quite frankly, they were just the better team today. It's that simple. They better come out angry against the Chiefs. No more excuses, for sure. For sure. Pat and Greenlaw getting hurt the same at the end really sucked. Greenlaw got hurt too? Oh, I missed that. That must have happened when I was walking through the tunnel coming back down. Damn, dude, that sucks. Greenlaw has a hamstring injury. Hopefully it's not too serious. Oh, that actually really sucks. Obviously, Greenlaw dealing with soft tissue injuries earlier in the year too. Ugh, that sucks. Can't run consistently. I will say, RJ Harvey did not impress me today. Sure, he had that big run, but he's got some of the worst vision out of all the starting running backs in the NFL. The dude does not see these wide open holes that are opening. And it's just frustrating, man, because your run game is really suffering. Yeah, I guess Greenlaw got hurt too, man. That's frustrating. Thank you, mods, for taking care of that troll. Really appreciate you guys. Ty Eagle says Denver will be okay. I think so too. I think so too. RJ played with heart today. He did, but there are still some issues with RJ Harvey that I worry are going to come back to bite you. We still have the #1 seed right now, though. We sure do. And we're going to have it no matter what happens. Even if the Patriots beat the Ravens tonight, we're still going to have that #1 seed because we have all the tiebreakers. But we don't have a whole lot of breathing room moving forward. We're going to have to win these next 2 games if we want to guarantee having that #1 seed. Brandon Jones, Pat Bryant, Dre Greenlaw, wrong time for key injuries. I mean, is there ever a right time to have key injuries? I mean, come on, dude. Injuries just suck no matter when you have them. Riley got burned and missed tackles today. I don't know what the deal was. Made him look like A.J. Brown. The missed tackles were terrible. You guys know that I'm a Riley defender, but the missed tackles were terrible. A lot of drop balls by the wide receivers today. Needed this loss. Rest pissed me off tonight bad. Bo missed a couple of open guys. I saw that, but really it was when he was trying to come back, so I can forgive those. The only one that he really missed when the game was still a game was that deep one to Sutton. That's one you want back, but you can also argue, why are you even calling a trick play in that situation? The play was there, though. The execution just was not there. No more losses securing the seeding. Yep, we can't afford any more moving forward. If we lose one more of these games, then we probably aren't going to get that #1 seed. Jags are a good team, that's all. Yep, that's the thing. And I don't think that enough people who are criticizing Denver for this game are going to talk about the fact that Jacksonville is just a good team and they out-executed us today. I guarantee you, if we met this team again in the playoffs, we'd win. In fact, there's a pretty good chance that we'll meet this team again in the playoffs. So I'd argue that this was exactly what Denver needed. Kind of a wake-up call, punch in the balls, whatever you want to call it. They've got flaws as a football team, and this gives you an opportunity to clean that up. VJ has defenses. This wasn't so much a schematic problem. It was just an execution problem. It's that simple. We're going to be one and done in the playoffs. If they play like they did today, sure, they will be. But if they play like they have the majority of the season, they should be good. Worst thing about the Pat Bryant injury is that it happened on a meaningless drive. We shouldn't need it. I mean, hindsight's 20/20 there. Professional football teams are never going to sit on the clock and kneel it down like that when they're down. They're just not going to do it, man. So it sucks that Bryant got hurt. It's just the crappy part of the game, man. Yeah, the Harvey touchdown was nice. Feel like it's going to be hard to rely on that defense. It might be, and the fact that Bo Nix played so well today and we lost, that's what frustrates me even more. Lutz missing the field goal, 3 turnovers, and terrible defense lost this one today. I'd argue the only turnover that really made a big difference was the fumble. That one definitely hurt. The missed field goal definitely made a big difference today, but the big storyline was defense, man. I mean, the misses from Bo mostly came during garbage time, so I can really forgive those. I really can. I knew this one would be tricky. Yep, me too, man, but I didn't think Denver was going to come out and play down to their competition like this. We got April in the house. Good to see you. Broncos may see these guys again. Broncos thick and thin, for sure. Would Skinner be better at safety? I don't know. Maybe you think about it, because I don't think Barron's going to be much for you. you're just in a really crappy spot where that was the one position where you couldn't really afford an injury, and unfortunately, that's where the injury happened. We needed a wake-up game. We did, and we certainly got it today. Daughter's first game we had to lose. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, man, and I'm sorry we couldn't meet up, too. It just didn't time out right. Sorry about that, man. Do you guys think the Chiefs will rest their starters for the rest of the season? I doubt it. Just like I said earlier, teams are competitive and they're not just going to lay down and die. So they've got 2 games, and for these players that are out there, they want to put out good film in these last 2 games. So no, I don't think they're going to sit starters. That's what a coward does, and I don't think there's a single NFL team out there that I would classify as a coward. Broncos have to work harder, for sure. And again, we talked about this. Sometimes you need a good punch in the dick, and that's what the Broncos got today, was a good punch in the dick. RJ has to have better field vision. Yep, 100%. That's my biggest knock and my biggest problem with RJ Harvey right now. Thank you so much, Maverick, for getting rid of the troll. Really do appreciate it, man. Mod's doing a job as always. Watch Nick Wright start talking nonsense. Biggest piece of advice I can give you, Broncos country, is tune out all of that shit tomorrow. I know that we're going to have to listen to it, but just tune it out. Don't bother, because you know that's going to be a bunch of nonsense and garbage that's going to be spewed by the national media. Do you think those 2 hits from the Jags were bad hits? I didn't see the Bryant hit because I was walking downstairs, so I'll have to go back and look at the tape on that one, and then I'll get back to you. Deep one to Sutton wasn't on Bo. That was Sutton who slipped it. If you saw it in the stadium, Sutton was running with 2 steps on his defender down the sideline. He had to stop to make the catch. If Bo Nix puts that in stride, it would have been a walk-in touchdown. So, unfortunately, I love Bo Nix, but he's got to make a better play on that one. He's got to give Cortland a better ball. Sure, Cortland should have caught that. I'm not saying he shouldn't have caught that, but it was a really poorly thrown ball. RG needs to work on his vision. Riley needs to work on his feet. Yep, and he also just needs to work on his tackling fundamentals, taking the right angle, etc., etc. If the Broncos win next week and the Chargers lose, do we still get the AFC West? I believe so. But don't quote me on that. I'll have to go look at the numbers. No more losses. Step it up, Broncos, and keep our AFC title for sure. Broncos had a tough loss. They'll regroup on Christmas Day against the Chiefs. They need to win 2 games. I said Jacksonville will be a problem because the linebackers can't cover. Now Denver had better be motivated. I could tell, walking off the field, this team was pissed. The players were really, really upset. They did not like how they played today. So I'm confident that they will play better. Denver's defense looked like trash. They did. Not making any excuse for them. They did. Tyler Bidet is a better running back than RJ Harvey. I mean, Bidet has had his moments. Denver's just in a really bad situation right now until they get J.K. Dobbins back. Dobbins is clearly their best running back and the most all-around running back they have. And until he gets back, Denver's just going to be in a really crappy spot. Sean said that Bryant has movement in his hands and legs. Excellent. That is great news. So I'm assuming in that case it was just a precautionary situation where you get knocked out, they're going to take you off on a spine board. That's what they do. So I don't know if Bryant lost consciousness or not. Glad that it looks like things are going to be okay there. Good game, Broncos. Hope to see a rematch in the AFC Championship game. I do think we're going to see each other again. And hats off, Jacksonville. They played a really good game. They really did. Issues in today's game. Awful tackling from the defense. Denver's linebackers should sit more classes with their safeties and corners on how to defend pass catchers. Yeah, the linebacker play wasn't good. There was one where I saw Dre Greenlaw get picked on. Alex is Alex. He's going to have some positive plays. He's going to have some negative plays. But I'd say that the secondary play was actually worse, in my opinion, just on initial glance, than the linebacker play. For some reason, Dameon Pierce was inactive for the Chiefs game. Hell, he could have signed here, man. Could have signed here and got playing time, but no. Had to go to Kansas City. Just had to go to Kansas City. Come on, man. Bryant was in the air and he hit him shoulder to chest. Yeah, that's what I heard. Again, I haven't seen the hit yet, but I guess it was pretty ugly, but also was a legal hit. I know the Broncos would lose eventually. You have to lose eventually. You're going to at some point. The entire stadium was disgusted, and so was I. Yeah, definitely not great energy by the fan base leaving the stadium tonight. All right, Maverick, see you later, man. Commanders exposed the defense as everyone's taking advantage of it. I don't know if that's the problem, honestly. I just think that the execution just hasn't been good these last few weeks. I don't think there's so much a problem that gets exposed. More so, Denver just needs to execute better. They're not executing at the same level as they did the last few weeks. Commanders, already got that one. Just went live myself, so just now hopping on. I think the refs had their hand in this game, and the Broncos started drinking their own Kool-Aid. This loss tonight will be good for the long haul. I definitely agree with you there. This loss is going to benefit this team long term. But again, man, you've got to play better football. The referees didn't help your cause today. I'd argue they spotted Jacksonville 2 touchdowns, but Denver did not play their best football. It's very simple. Players are angry. Yeah, you better be when you get beat by a better team. I don't think that Jacksonville's a better team. That's the thing. They were the better team today, but if you go and play this matchup over again, I don't think Jacksonville wins it 2 times in a row. I wonder how Vance Joseph will adjust after this loss. I mean, there are some schematic adjustments that you can make, but I don't know if there's a ton of them. It's just you have to execute better. Sometimes the simplest answer is the correct answer. Refs got me wanting to run through a damn wall. I do think the Broncos will play better this coming game. They better going up against a third-string quarterback. That's all I got to say. What happened to Bo's magical clutch abilities? Bo played well today. Bo played really well today. The problem was the defense today. It really was. What's your guys' final record prediction? I mean, they've already passed my record today. Or they passed it last week. I said 11-5, so we'll see. I think they're probably going to win at least one more. Maybe even they win both of them, but we'll see. Let's see. Should Sean have shut it down? Pat's injury was so unnecessary. Look, man, you're going to fight until the whistle. I wouldn't expect anything different from this team. Hindsight is 20/20 there. I hate it that Bryant got hurt, but that's just sometimes what happens. Let's see. Jeremy says, why play zone the whole game? Because Jacksonville's got a lot of man-beating weapons, and they did eventually get to a little bit more man, but it was too little too late in my opinion. DTR got injured, and I don't know what happened with Ellis. Yeah, the Ellis injury looked like a hamstring, but I think he's going to be okay. As soon as PJ Locke got exposed and burnt, our whole defense basically quit because of PJ Locke. I mean, I don't think it does any good to consistently crap PJ. He didn't have a good day. We know that he didn't have a good day. But at the end of the day, man, it's what happens sometimes. You lose. You don't always play your best game. And today, they got out-executed by another really good team. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wind this thing down because I know I'm going to be kicked out of the stadium any second now. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be getting some more content out throughout the day once we get back to the hot box. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to smash that like button as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. Helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. Additionally, if you want to go above and beyond in supporting the channel, please consider becoming a channel member today. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for tuning in, Broncos country, and until next time, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.